It was judgment day for 9 governors at the Supreme Court on Friday, and all of them survived being removed. The Kano State Governorship Election appeal was the most eye-catching, and rumors are flying around regarding the outcome. The 2023 presidential candidate of the new Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, said he did not reach out an agreement with President Bola Tinubu or anyone in relation with the Supreme Court verdict on the state governorship election. Tussle has been rumored. Meanwhile, the ruling All Progressive Congress said it has accepted the verdict of the Apex Court on the elections. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Felix Mouka, the APC said the judgment affirmed the independence of the Judiciary. The Judiciary is now working well now. So the status quo was maintained and everybody
went home happy.
Yeah, so it's a victory for democracy and the Judiciary. There's no upset.
And for the lawyers of the winners.
Yes.
Don't forget.
Yes, this is what we
praise
Justice Ariwola and his...
no more eyes on the Judiciary.
All is well now. So, Nigerians.
Nigeria is a very
bunch of hypocrites.
Nigeria is it's about interest. Politics is about interest.
What the thing is in your side now? It's victory for democracy.
Why not?
So, if there's any upset, oh God, they've been compromised. They met them.
Yes. Well, of course, all kinds of things will happen because politics is about interest. Politics is about people seeking to advance certain interests, and nobody goes into an election with the idea that he's going to lose.
Let's say Kano as a case study, because I was afraid.
Yes.
When you want to look at the figures that came from Kano in the 2023 presidential election and the governorship election, number one, Kano is, in terms of a state's most political service states in Nigeria.
Volatile.
And volatile. People come out and they participate in elections.
Yes. Yeah.
Kano is a state that I saw that the central municipal did not have a candidate. It was meant to be Senator Shekarau.
Yes.
But he backed out before that election. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because he left the party.
The party NNPP.
Before that election.
Yes.
He still had over 400,000 votes for his senatorial district. Not governorship.
Yeah.
In some states, it was difficult for governorship to have 400,000.
400,000.
Yes.
Where will you get it?
You get it, Senator Shekarau. So, despite the fact that NNPC did not fly their candidates, that they had no candidate going to that election, they still had over 400,000 votes. Look at the vote of the presidential candidates. And when you see that governorship election, you can see the turnout. And when you want to do, I'll even check the statistics.
No, if you even look at, let's say, 1979
the election
in Lagos State. How many votes did Jack on there? Was not 500,000. But somebody, senatorial candidate had 400,000.
Yes.
So just so close to what?
To show you. So it's not a state you can tamper with. Yes. I was very apprehensive of the outcome of that.
No. I think really the Kano issue was made unduly volatile by comments made by certain influential individuals, influential politicians, which, well, is in the typical character of Nigerian politicians, to push points, to push comments that can hit the polity, just to advance their own interests. But that of Kano, of course, very good idea that definitely the issue of the membership of a political party was reiterated. It was reiterated. The Supreme Court had actually, the Appeal Court had actually, settled this matter in the case of Peter Obi versus Bola Tinubu. He settled it that the membership of a party is determined by the political party. But people still try to push it that Kabir Yusuf was not a member of the NNPP. That so happened. And I really love the declaration of the Supreme Court. Clearly stating its points. That look at that, okay, the fact that so-and-so, paper, you are now trying to transfer INEC's, you are trying to transfer INEC's inconsistencies, the burden for INEC's inconsistencies to the NNPP candidate was unfair. It was very, very unfair because he was just there as a candidate. He's not the supervisor of INEC. He's not the superintendent of INEC. So I think the Supreme Court really did justice. But it was honestly a bountiful harvest because I don't know if in the history of adjudication into political cases in Nigeria, I mean, I don't know if there has been any such day when you had a bountiful harvest that everybody went home. Well, everybody on the winning side went home happy. No sitting governor was displaced. I mean,
now the result that came for 2023 had it that that is Yusuf Abba Kabir, that's the president, that's the governor from NNPP, had over 1 million votes.
Yes. And
that did not happen anywhere in the country.
No, since when? How many years ago?
So the runner-up, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, that's Gawuna Nasiru Yusuf, had 890,000 votes.
Very close.
890,000 votes. And in Lagos State, we had over 7 million registered voters. How many came for governorship? How many participated?
Some were playing football now, or sitting in their homes and watching.
So this is why Kano is so important, that anything that the outcome of Kano, it matters. Wale?
Well, for me, I think what we should recognize in Kano is that Kwankwaso is the biggest bride. And I think he has a kind of magic grip on the politics of that area. So perhaps the votes that went to NNPP was actually because of Kwankwaso as a person. And I actually believe that for a long time, Kwankwaso is going to be the most dominant factor, in Kano politics. So the fact that APC was the ruling party, and APC was defeated in Kano, the sitting governor, when the election was being conducted, was APC. And when you look at the gap, it will tell you that, look, this man is a force to be reckoned with in Kano State. So I'm glad that pendulum swung that way. It's a good thing because I confirmed that it actually, the party actually won Kano State, and I think it also helps diversity, in terms of the number of parties that have that are controlling the governorship seat across the country. So as for Plateau, just like what Emeka said, when you look at the judgment of the Supreme Court, there are certain fundamental issues that those issues have remained consistent, largely consistent. Because when a party does not hold primaries, it's a major problem. But you don't, if the person challenging that primary is a member of your party, there's a local standard. But if it's another party challenging the fact that, PDP did not hold ward and state congresses, there's a problem. And the Supreme Court made it very clear that, look, even in the case of, Ebonyi State and also Abia,
a lot of people are asking that question now that we've had sacrificial lambs in the National Assembly, in the House of Assembly, in Plateau State, that they were talking about the internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party, their inability to conduct congresses. A lot of the assembly members lost their seats. A lot of their National Assembly members lost their seats.
Most of those cases were linked up to people from that particular party coming to challenge, their candidate. But if you are in the PDP, from what you have seen from judgment of the Supreme Court now, if you are not within that party, your ability to challenge whether they had primaries or no primary becomes very difficult, even in terms of whether the person elected is actually a legitimate member of that party or not. So I think, law is dynamic, and I hope that lawyers will be learning every day to see how the Supreme Court interprets, the cases that have been brought before her. And I think that we should also continue to respect the Supreme Court. We cannot have it all the time. The Supreme Court decisions are always final. Not that they are infallible, but because they are decisions made by the Supreme Court, we have no other place to go, except to, just accept the judgment as they have come.
We witnessed in Lagos State that even Gbadebo Rosevival went all the way to the Supreme Court. Judiciary Jandor from the PDP went out to the Supreme Court, but the case did not go their way.
Yeah.
They were looking forward to the deputy governor being disqualified on dual nationality basis and everything. They pleaded their cases and they could not prove it categorically that they actually won that particular election.
Yeah, well, of course, the court made it clear that the deputy governor is a Nigerian. And so that's brought up, that's something to really look at, that who is a Nigerian. If you remember in the 80s when Alhaji Abdurrahman Shugaba was deported, because he was not a Nigerian. If you remember also during Buhari's tenure as military head of state, when an Olympian weightlifter, Orok, when the government said it will revoke his citizenship, So is citizenship something gifted by natural causes, or is it something that just occurs?
We have a Boniface calling from Jos. Thank you for joining us, Boniface. Turn down the volume of your TV sets. Boniface, are you there?
Good afternoon, journalist handout.
All right, go ahead, please.
The truth is that it's concerning, sir.
Go ahead.
It's related to the kidnapping that took place in Abuja, within the Abuja Treasury. So,
okay, I think we lost Boniface. Are you there? So, as we're saying, we're talking about the Deputy Governor of Lagos State.
Yeah, so that citizenship, of course, the court declared in its wisdom that the Deputy Governor, Affirm, is a Nigerian. So the fact that in the opinion of the appellants that the candidature of Governor Sanwo-Olu should be declared null and void because the deputy governor holds dual citizenship. The court said, well, basically that he is a Nigerian, by birth, and that he was he was qualified to run with, someone on a joint ticket. So all of these things are helping to properly define our jurisprudence as it has to do with elections. So I hope going forward that election tribunals will be rightly guided by some of these declarations so that we don't have long spells of appeals on governorships, and to be easy to dispense with. We just deal with the key issues based on the case. But Nigerian politicians will never do that.
We expected upsets in some states, but we didn't get any. Like the Supreme Court is like a stabilizing factor, and they were able to maintain the status quo and the bill.
Yeah. The fact also is that legislative electoral dispute ends at the appeal court. So it's only governorship and presidential elections that you have to go to the Supreme Court. So the kind of judgment you are going to get at the appeal court may not be the same with what you get in the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court...
The Supreme Court judgment will forever be a
final.
reference.
So it's the only one you can use as precedence when you are citing references in the future.
So in all this, now we've been talking about how it's not ideal for the courts to determine candidates, for the court to determine governors, that it should be the people ultimately, that this addition and subtraction of votes and everything should be done by the courts, that is not healthy, that we should allow the power to elect anybody to be in the hands of the people. And from what we've seen so far, I don't think the people across these states, they will not be disappointed.
No, well, ultimately, sovereignty resides with the people. With due respect to the judiciary, it's the people who ultimately decide who their leaders are. But our democracy is still developing, it's still trying to find its way, it's still evolving. So certain issues need to be properly grounded, like this issue concerning Governor Sanwo-Olu, you know, by virtue of the dual citizenship of the deputy governor. You know, certain issues like that, first of all, is a fundamental issue. Who is eligible to run for who is eligible to run for office in Nigeria in the first place? So the Supreme Court has declared it that a Nigerian born in Nigeria and who has attained 35 years and who has schooled in Nigeria is eligible. So that is a major issue, is a major pillar on which our democracy needs to stand and, you know, survive challenges and all of that. Yes, I believe that time will come when, of course, we need electoral reforms, we need judicial reforms, we also need reforms in the security sector. So I believe that with time, that, you know, when, as these reforms are being implemented, now that we're being told clearly that IREV is a viewing portal, that IREV is not where results are the validity of is not the collation center, which was not what we were actually made to understand before the election. But it's okay. No, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay. So what it means is that
it become as in
yes,
the legislation backing up, making it compulsory.
If you remember the smart card, yes. It was the same thing. So before. we are gradually we're cleaning up the system. We're cleaning up the system, but politicians should also be mindful of the fact that their interests cannot supersede the overarching need for Nigeria to succeed at all costs. That is very, very important. That's why you see some of the matters brought before. I mean, there was one matter, I think, that a lawyer was forced to withdraw before the Supreme Court. One of the issues concerned one of the governors, I don't remember. And the Supreme Court asked him, but that this matter has been decided by the appeal court. Why are you misleading your client to push forward with this matter when you can see clearly, it's clear, black and white, that it has already been decided? And so he was forced to quickly, you know, beat a hasty retreat. So even lawyers should help their clients. I know a lot of money is usually devoted to all these election appeals. So very juicy, very tempting. But lawyers should ask themselves the question, do we want to build the Nigeria of our dreams, or do we want to build personal treasuries of our dreams? Which one? Which one supersedes the other? Yes, it's good to have, you know, hefty bank accounts from your practice. But again, it should not be at the expense of the well-being, the interests of over 200 million Nigerians. So some of these issues have been decided. We hope that when more governorship elections take place, that will not still come back again to deciding on who is a Nigerian, deciding on a candidacy, who is a member of any political party, who is this, who is that. These things have been decided.
Boniface is back on the line. Thank you, Boniface, for joining us again, I think from Jos. Go ahead, please. Hello? Boniface. Why I hope people will not get desperate, as in, there's this saying that, look, there's no need to go to courts, that make sure you win on election day at all costs. Because when you go to the courts, you might not necessarily get justice. From what you've seen in 2023, both presidential and the governorship election, hope our politicians will not resort to this do-or-die tendency for 2027.
Well, in the course of resorting to do or die, you will end up discovering that you have flouted the law, and that may put you in a bigger trouble. So no matter what strategy you want to apply, the normal thing is to abide with the electoral law. And if you abide with all the laws, you know, failing to hijack ballot papers, ensuring that you mobilize people, no stealing of ballot paper, no multiple thumb printing, and if you lose, your conscience will tell you that you have actually lost. You know, the other thing that our politicians should learn is that, you know, you don't win election by bullying or, people have false impression of themselves. You need, winning an election is like science. You need to pass through the rudiments. You need to campaign, you need to mobilize, and most importantly, you need to start on time. Most of these people don't begin their campaign until 3-4 weeks to the election. And then some people believe that the only way to win is call NATA, give them money. NURTW, give them money. Where are your ideas? Who are the people that you are networking with? Did you have lists of social organizations, cultural organizations? Are you holding meetings with them? Did you have students, somebody who is in charge of students, somebody in charge of women, somebody in charge of traders who is actually engaging them and to gather them together, take 200,000? They underestimate the knowledge of people. People also want to know what are your programs for ordinary people, for market women. So it's a whole lot of work. So there's this impression that once you have money, you can win an election. Election is it's mathematics. I've been involved in certain campaigns in the past. And I know that there was when Dr. Fayemi was campaigning in 2007. He got the list of all community-based organizations, 2,700 in Ekiti State. He wrote letters to all the teachers, every teacher in Ekiti State, every school principal, they got letters. Community organizations, I said about community organization, these are almost about 132 communities. He wrote personal letters that were signed. That was how that election became a revolution. Hunters unions, meetings with them, students, market women, and the election of Ashiwaju in 1999.
Long protected campaign.
1999. There was independent campaign organization, different from the party itself.
Yes.
At Arumire. Those ones are going out meeting women, door to door, talking to people, mobilizing them. In 1999, you could see that when the election came, 2003, the same thing. Even though Obasanjo did everything to ensure that he got Lagos. But the campaign was too overwhelming. It was people driven. There was no way, the federal government could, subdue the will of the people.
Dolapo is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Dolapo.
Thank you.
Dolapo, go ahead. You're online.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello, journalist Donald Out.
Yes.
Okay. This is Dolapo from Lagos, Dolapo country. This Friday judgment from the Supreme Court. Yes. Hello?
Go ahead. Dolapo. We can hear you, Dolapo. Why are we having dropped calls? So, talking about the belief in the system, faith in that system to be able to galvanize people, mobilize people for 2027.
Yes, you see, it's even surprising that the National Assembly is not even looking at the issues arising from the Supreme Court. This issue of citizenship, Section 177, the National Assembly must make a definite declaration on it because it still is an issue that will still crop up.
When it crop up, it has been, the Supreme Court has said it all.
But
it's a court of policy.
It doesn't end there.
No, it's a court of policy. Any other case that has to do with this
that's what I'm talking about, electoral reforms.
Okay.
Matters arising.
Okay.
Another matter is the one in Zamfara. How that of Zamfara went. The appeal court said that, declared that 1, 2, 3 local governments, that there should be a rerun.
Yes.
So, at what level, to what extent should INEC hold a rerun? What should happen for INEC to hold a rerun? That's another issue. Yet another issue is in terms of who is a member of a political party. At what point does somebody become a member of a political party? It's not enough to say that, no, you cannot challenge internal affairs of political parties. No. It also has to be stated that political parties must ensure that primaries have to be held. Some of these people just escaped because of that provision or internal affairs of parties. But again, it says a lot about internal democracy in the parties themselves. It shows they don't care about internal democracy. So the National Assembly should maybe hold a public hearing on some of the matters arising so that these things can be easily cleared, and then it will be, then Nigerians will have more confidence in the electoral system. Then the other thing is that politicians, do they spend money on voter education? Do they tell people whether it's the thumb that should be used or which of the fingers should be used for voting? Do they tell people, do they teach people about some of these things? They don't. They believe it's the job of INEC. And then at the end of the day, you have so many voided votes. You now have issue of overvoting. You now have issue of cancelled votes versus legitimate votes. You have to pursue your own interest ahead. INEC won't do your job for you. The courts won't do your job for you.
Mike is calling us from Yaba. Thank you for joining us, Mike. Go ahead, please. Hello, Mike. Seem to be having these drop calls. And ultimately...
I think what
hello?
Okay.
All right, Mike.
I think I have three things to say.
Go ahead, quickly.
Yes, the three things to say is on the issue of the lady, the soldier, that soldier lady should be given all that she requires in terms of the society coming to her aid. The civil society should take up the matter because by her own narration, she has written letter, she has made people to come and interfere in the matter to intervene for her, and they took her to the psychiatric hospital instead of treating the matter. So she's actually frustrated by the hierarchy of the army. As for the kidnapping in Nigeria has become a business. All the big people you see sponsoring politicians, all the so-called... Imagine Evans was living in Magodo, and Evans was supporting the security system in Magodo. He bought 3 lost vans for them. At the point, he was even chairman. And meanwhile, he's the worst kidnapper on earth. He built church. So many people are parading themselves as big men who are sponsors of this kidnapping network. And they are big men in the corridor of power. So let us not deceive ourselves. If we want to destroy kidnapping in Nigeria, we must destroy the hierarchy of businessmen and hierarchy of big men in Nigeria. If we don't, we are joking.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for